Of all the objections raised by anti-communists, the following is the most common: human nature. This is the one argument that every anti-communist always uses. Communism is a nice idea, it sounds great on paper, but it will never work because of human nature. Anti-communists would argue that humans are naturally greedy and perverse, consequently they could never work together to build a communist society. In addition, they also believe that communism removes the incentive for people to work, and therefore society will grind to a halt, resulting in massive depressions. The funny thing is, every time they describe what they think is wrong with communism, they end up describing capitalism. There are two main things wrong with this viewpoint. First, human nature is not naturally greedy and selfish. Even if it was, that is not a major issue. Second, communism does not remove the incentive to work. If anything, it inspires it. Let's use an example. Suppose you saw someone hanging off a cliff and you had a rope you could throw to them. The vast majority of humans would help the person climb back to safety, even though they do not benefit in the least from this, and in fact, might even endanger themselves in the process. Additionally, most humans would despise anyone who casually turned their back on the person in distress. This is because our true human instinct is to protect and help our fellow humans. This is one reason why videos of people helping others, sharing with them, and rescuing them go viral on the internet. Humans are social beings. We need to feel community, belonging, and friendship. Our greed and selfishness only extends to self-preservation, and in some cases humans will even abandon this instinct, sacrificing their lives to save others. Those in power have warped minds and wish us to believe that we are just as bad and degenerate as they are, so that they are not held accountable for their actions. Thus they teach everyone to believe that we are all selfish. Let me say that I don't think that most people who are anti-communist are evil or stupid, only that they are misinformed and brainwashed by the educational system. Now, obviously, not everyone is a saint, so communism would still need to have a rigid system of accountability for public servants to prevent them from hoarding resources for personal profit. Maybe have factory production sheets published in an app available to the public to enable everyone to keep track of resources and see that none of it's being withheld once it reaches the distributors, and have the distribution system decentralized if necessary, etc., etc. Point is, it's possible, especially in today's age of technological marvels. Communism removes the incentive for people to work. Marx himself actually addressed this very objection. It has been objected that upon the abolition of private property, all work will cease and universal laziness will overtake us. According to this, bourgeois society ought long ago to have gone to the dogs through sheer idleness. For those of its members who work acquire nothing, and those who acquire anything do not work. The whole of this objection is but another expression of the tautology that there can no longer be any wage labor when there is no longer any capital. In other words, the hardest workers in capitalism have nothing, and the rich do not work. So obviously capitalism does not provide an incentive to work hard and thereby improve one's situation, because it is impossible. The old saying rings true: you are a slave to those born richer than you. Communism, on the other hand, inspires people to work and gives them an actual incentive because they will finally reap the fruit of their labor. The remaining arguments against communism usually sound something like, communism killed 100 million people, or communism has never worked when it was tried. People usually get the 100 million number from the Black Book of Communism. This book is known to many historians to contain tons of inaccuracies, exaggerations, and outright lies, which were mostly made by the main author, Courtois, so much so that even many of the original co-authors of the book distanced themselves from it. As to the accusation that communism has never worked, we saw in the last video that communism has never been tried, only socialism. And yes, most socialist states have fallen, but the reasons for this are many and varied. The most prominent, in my opinion, is that for socialism to work, it must be a worldwide occurrence. Socialism, and therefore communism, cannot survive as long as it is under attack by capitalist forces, because unless it is totally self-sufficient, it will have to trade for outside goods, and therefore retain capitalist elements in order to trade with capitalist countries. This belief was taught by many communist revolutionaries such as Vladimir Lenin and Leon Trotsky. History, however, did not facilitate a worldwide communist revolution due to Lenin's premature death, Stalin's rise, and Trotsky's fall. Despite this, there are still some examples of socialist states that are doing very well considering the circumstances. Kerala, a province in India, is socialist, and they are the most prosperous region in the entire country. Cuba is also socialist. After the Cuban Revolution and the installation of socialism, America, who was Cuba's lifeblood trading partner, imposed a total trade embargo in an attempt to sink the newly established socialist state. Losing 50% of their export revenue was obviously a major disaster, and yet Cuba somehow managed to raise the standard of living, increase life expectancy from age 30 to age 70, achieve 96% literacy, and provide electricity and running water to almost the entire population. Now, I'm not a huge supporter of how Fidel Castro structured his government. I think in most cases this is too prone to corruption, but luckily for Cuba, Fidel Castro governed very well. I'll go more in depth about Cuba and Fidel Castro in another episode. I hope you found this video informative and thought-provoking. If you liked it and want to learn more about communism, history, and current affairs, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching.